Several minutes of commercial-free football starts now.
Here are the Purple Mortgage Guys.
Welcome to another episode of Purple Mortgage Guys. After a brief, we'll call it summer vacation, took a couple of weeks off here. Got Tanner, Goose, and myself talk a little Vikings football. Three guys in the mortgage business who enjoy talking about the Minnesota Vikings. So we started the show here last year. We'll probably call this the inaugural season 2 episode, guys, and maybe a little rusty on the purple. But there's a lot of stuff going on, so we thought we'd record a new episode here and get everybody up to speed on some things that have happened here over the summer months. So, Goose, Tanner, probably 3 or 4 big things to talk about, and we'll start with the news of the day, which was Danielle getting a 1-year kind of a reworked deal to kick the can down the road a little bit. I believe $17 million. With some incentives that make it up to $20 million. So Tanner, give me your thoughts on Danielle. Did you want it to play out that way? Is that what you expected? What are your thoughts on the Danielle Hunter situation?
Yeah, I need to be careful what I say because I don't know a lot of specifics about his new contract, but obviously I'm excited to have him back. He is our best pass rusher and probably our premier player on defense in a very young squad that's not like full of talent. So happy to have him back this upcoming season. I guess the one thing I'm not stoked about is he's going to be a free agent next year, and we're obviously not going to be trading him. So I feel like he's leaving either way next year, and we're not going to be getting any compensation for him. So he's the one player, I guess, outside of like Justin Jefferson on this team right now that you could trade away and actually get something in return for him, I think, at this point. And I feel like they kind of squashed that. So happy he's back, but not expecting him to be back in 2024. So this kind of feels like a 1-year thing unless we go pretty deep in the playoffs and the defense plays well this year.
Goose, what do you think with him coupled with Flores? Is that a good thing for Danielle? What are your thoughts there?
I think so. It's so important for pass rushers to get some time to get to the quarterback, and in the soft Donatell coverage, it would I can only imagine the frustration of beating your man and the ball's out of the quarterback's hand right away. So I just think Flores' aggressive defense is probably going to put the stress on the coverage guys, and the pass rushers should like it because they're going to be playing more tight coverage, more disguises, and give Danielle a chance.
You know what? It's been nice, guys. I think I've gone several weeks without thinking of the name Ed Donatel. I don't know about you guys, but that's been a nice little change there. So got the training camp kicked off here the last few days. Early, I guess, reports, JJ looks like JJ, maybe even better. Caught a couple long touchdowns, I believe, yesterday. And just looking the part. Hadn't heard a lot else. I saw Lewis Seen had a good was it a diving interception or a good pass breakup anyway? Just looked like he was flying all over the place. But have you guys heard anything else yet the first couple days?
Not a ton. Kirk's speech was a big hit. It sounds like I wish his Netflix series would have still been going so we could have heard it. It's always hard to tell if those are like super manufactured moments or like if it was truly riveting, I think was the word that they used. After watching the Netflix series, it's a little bit, I think, easier for me to see that I could see the guys getting fired up at Kirk having something to say. I think he made some comments about like the amount of work that Mahomes does after practice and really the organized activities. And it almost seemed like Kirk had like some motivation of like, I've got a year or 2, maybe 3 window to capitalize on my career. And if that means I gotta put in some extra work and maybe get that across to the guys too, that I need to do it now. So I'm excited to see Kirk in the same system again with the same offensive coach and play caller, and maybe this kind of last hoorah spark that he's got.
So is it fair to say, Goose, your opinion of Kirk, it went up, it skyrocketed after you watched quarterback? What, or were you always, thinking the same with Kirk Cousins?
I mean, I've always been Team Kirk. I feel like I've always had to defend him. I try not to get too high on Kirk, and I try to give him a break sometimes. I think the Netflix series, it's hard to deny that he's a super likable guy who gave it his all and was taking shots left and right and just gritting through it. But I knew that Kirk was tough, and he never misses games, and he's very accurate, and he stands in and takes hits. I think for the most part, the series kind of reiterated what I knew. Like sometimes he seems to really stress in like non-opportune scenarios, and maybe sometimes that's why we get down so bad and we start coming back, because he almost has well, it's over, so let's just wing it. I think one of the things I learned the most was, surprisingly, in the Netflix doc that's about Kirk, is about KOC. Like I worried about KOC being like the player's coach that everyone loved. Like I didn't know if he could really like get on someone, and there was several times where he gets after Kirk and isn't afraid to and I think he goes about it the right way, but isn't afraid to say like, dude, what the heck were you doing here? Like, let's talk through that. How do we not do that again? So I appreciate that. I don't want a coach who's just going to tell everyone what they want to hear. And I think he goes about it the right way where the players want to listen to him.
Mm-hmm. Tanner, what are your thoughts? Quarterback series, Kirk in general, anything with training camp that you've seen yet online?
Yeah, I don't have a ton to add to the documentary piece. I've also always been I would say I'm like his biggest fan, but I've always been pro Kirk. And the documentary, I think, really makes it, I don't know how you can't like him, I guess, after watching it, and at least have just like an insane amount of respect for him, just for all the grittiness, I guess, he put in throughout the season. And I mean, even looking back last year, he wasn't a guy I felt like that was ever on the injury report. And he clearly played through pain every single week. So
I think my biggest aha was, or just, I guess, look at, inside or behind the scenes, was that Buffalo game where he was just wincing in pain. And then how many times he got the wind knocked out of him. And I mean, we know he doesn't get hurt, but I think sometimes we don't realize that he plays through pain too pretty well. So yeah, hard to not think highly of the guy and want him to win after watching that, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Anything on camp, Tanner? You kind of tend to have kind of the inside scoop just by checking things out online, but maybe a little too early. We're still in July yet.
Yeah, I would say I haven't, I guess, been watching camp as heavy this year as I have in years past, but I have jotted down a few notes from stuff that I've just caught on Twitter. Jaron Hall, the Vikings rookie QB, I guess, has looked pretty good. Granted, I think he's playing against third stringers. But I've heard some pretty good things about him so far. I've also heard it sounds like Kene Nwangwu is RB2 as of right now. I don't know if that's really a surprise, but it sounds like he's getting a majority of those touches behind Alex Madison. I don't know about you guys. I just kind of have like an inclination. I think after the preseason, I feel like the Vikings are going to sign some free agent. I don't know who it's going to be, but I just don't love our depth, I guess. But we'll see what the preseason brings. Jalen Naylor's looked good. And what is the receiver that we signed from the Rams? Brandon
Powell.
Yeah, Brandon Powell. He is punt returner 1, which is actually very surprising for me. He's been taking reps over Jalen Reagor.
Interesting.
So it seems like he is the odd man out. If he was going to make the roster, I think going into this upcoming season, I think it'd be because of the punt return job. So
yeah, I saw a note that it was Powell, Reagor, and Addison were taking receiving punts, and so I'm sure if they could get Naylor comfortable with it, healthy, and have Addison as a guy who can do it, it'd be nice to not take up a roster spot for just a designated punt returner.
And the only other real notes I have to add on defense are sounds like Lewis Cine is giving Cam Bynum a run for his money for that safety spot, that starting gig beside Harrison Smith. I think that's ideally what all the fans would like to see, as well as Kwesi. I mean, that is Kwesi's guy that he drafted, so I think we'd like to see Lewis be successful here. And then it sounds like a Caleb Evans and Byron Murphy are the starting corners. And I don't even think it sounds close. It doesn't sound like – well, I heard that Joanne Williams, the free agent corner that we signed from the Patriots, was getting starting reps like the first day. But being a veteran, I think that's expected. But it sounds like a Caleb Evans has kind of stepped up again and taken his slot back.
I had heard Booth has been playing well too. I don't know if that.
Yeah, he had a pick yesterday. Yesterday.
Scene and Booth had days that they absolutely needed. Like I saw Scenes first, and I had to double take, like, because I haven't seen his name going back to before the injury. You just didn't see any flashes, and I was like, okay, I really like this guy. He's got great athleticism, but normally all of the rookies, especially like the top 3 round draft picks, you almost get like a Jaron Hall type of bone thrown where it's like, oh, it looked really good today. Like, just fans wanting so bad for some excitement. And I haven't seen anything on Lewis. And so to see that pick, which is very non-traditional of a Vikings defense, at least in my memory, of like hard flat, like jump a flat route and make a play. It's always so soft, even prior to Donatel, where I don't see someone jumping routes very often. Even Zimmer was very like, keep your eyes on the wide receiver, don't look back at the quarterback. And the amount of times you just see Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers whip a ball right by your corner's ear who's not looking, it just drives me bananas. So to see Lewis drive down on a shallow flat route and make that interception was sweet. And then I saw Booth's next, and I was like, man, talk about 2 guys who really needed something to go their way, because there was a lot of question marks on if these guys are ever going to turn into anything. And obviously one play and second team reps doesn't cement you as a good player, but it's a start.
I think this is going to be one of the more intriguing camps with the whole Flores thing playing out, some rookies at key spots with Addison, and even watching Jaron Hall, and then some of the defense playing out. Like, it's going to be interesting to see that unfold. So Tanner, you better keep us updated. Watch your X account there and see what unfolds. So, guys, closing thoughts. Dalvin Cook, where do you think he's going to end up? It sounds like he's visiting the Jets maybe yesterday or today. Is he going to sign there, or somewhere in the AFC seems like a landing spot? What do you got?
I mean, it seems like it's going to be New York, I guess, at this point. I always feel like for a back like Dalvin, it's really hard to be impatient, but injuries happen every single year.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as these preseason games start, we know running backs are going to get hurt. So I feel like if he were smart and he wanted to get as many reps as possible and go somewhere to be that prime guy, I think it'd be best for him to wait and play that out as opposed to sharing carries with Breece Hall.
There's just so many guys in Dalvin's position that's what's really tough. And it seems like he's going to the Jets, but it also seemed like he was a lock for the Dolphins, and then it seemed like he was a lock for the Patriots. And I've seen articles that say he's reconsidering, but I know when he got cut, it was very clear. I think his agent put out there like he was still looking for a double-digit a year contract. And I think he's realizing pretty quick, like, the Jets, I think, would be insane to pay anywhere close to that when you've got a guy like Breece coming back and just the position is so devalued.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to have to take a cut, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's not to the Jets, just because there's been a lot of teams that he's basically a lock for at this point, and it's losing steam in my eyes.
It seems like in years past, we would have overpaid for a running back, and then this whole narrative would have taken off that we were like the last team to pay big money for a back. So kind of feel like we're on the ahead of the curve with some of this roster building now, which is kind of fun. So,
it wasn't even we didn't even talk about it, but there was, the rumor today that swirled too, now that Jonathan Taylor has requested a trade from the Colts. Obviously, Vikings fans, I think, would like to see that happen as well, and that is something you probably could get away with. I don't know what they would have to pay him if they ended up extending him, but I think running backs don't cost much. So if you wanted to dump a few picks or maybe a player and get a premier running back like Jonathan Taylor, that'd be pretty sweet. But he does have a lot of tread on his tires, like Dalvin.
Have you ever heard of a player that was rumored to be wanting to move that Vikings fans were not interested in?
No.
It's very common, but I feel like this one also makes sense.
Yeah, totally. All right, guys. Well, we hit on a lot in 15 minutes, but it's good to kind of knock the rust off. We're definitely in preseason form. We're kind of in, I don't know, mid-season form in the mortgage business with the summer months here in the upper Midwest. So anybody's listening, looking to buy a house or refinance, hit up Goose or Tanner. They'd love to help you out with that. And we'll be back again soon. Before you know it, have a great week, everybody.